All right, so we are back. We just got back from seeing The Creator, and I've heard some mixed to positive reactions on this one.
I've heard some positives about this one as well. I think I was talking to a family friend of ours, and I was mentioning I was about to watch this movie, and they heard good things about the film.
That's good. That's good. I mean, most of the reactions I've heard, they've been mostly positive.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of want to talk about the director of this for a little bit here before we get into this. So, for those who don't know, this is the return of Gareth Edwards to mainstream filmmaking. He did the 2014 Godzilla reboot. He did Rogue One before this. So it's nice that he finally made a comeback. And I would say he delivered in terms of what he was trying to do with this. And I would say I did enjoy this film. I probably want to see it again, though, because when we were walking out, I told you I didn't quite get all the details.
Yeah, there were a few things, like the giant ship, the acronyms for its name, which is in the film, it's called Nomad, but it had an acronym for something which only showed for like 3 seconds, so we didn't get that part.
Yeah, so the trailer, we did see tons of trailers for The Creator in front of other stuff, and it had me intrigued the minute I found out Gareth Edwards was doing this film, because after the release of Rogue One, he said like he didn't do the sequel to Godzilla, he wanted to do smaller scale projects.
Yeah.
But after walking out of this, like, this did not feel small scale to me. It felt pretty cinematic in terms of its presentation.
Yeah, I mean, and I can see where he's talking about in terms of smaller project, because this is like a kind of like a newer like story compared to like others where it's like it's like, oh, it came originated from a story, or it's a big film, or like a big name like either Godzilla or something of the sort, which is supposed to be bigger because it has its reputation. He probably figured this one as a smaller because it's new.
That's a good way of looking at it. I would say, yeah, this movie, I mean, from what I heard, it took a lot of inspirations from various famous movies like Blade Runner, E.T., Apocalypse Now. I saw a little bit of Blade Runner and maybe some E.T. in there too.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this did not feel derivative. This actually felt like an original experience for the most part.
Yeah.
And I think for how we're going to talk about this, like, there's not really a whole lot to spoil, but what we can say is that we both thought it was pretty solid,
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think one good thing, there's a lot of good things I want to say about this before we start talking about anything story related. So visually, this is impressive.
It definitely is visually impressive because each scene had its own atmosphere or setting in terms of like the backgrounds and all that sort of stuff. For wherever you go, the theme of the background or the setting fits for what's happening.
Yes, and there was a lot of like fantastic visual effects. Like everything looked really photorealistic.
Yeah.
The kind of photorealistic that Neill Blomkamp did with his sci-fi films, and it was nice to see that here.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say like the color grading and the way it looked, it was consistent with how Gareth Edwards shot a lot of his sequences in Rogue One or Godzilla.
Yeah.
So I could tell this was his visual style, and he was applying it here, where everything looks big and everything looks epic, and it's really pretty to look at, and you just can't look away. So that was nice. And I would say the acting was really good.
Yeah.
Like, I did not get a bad performance out of anyone.
No, coming from either the main protagonist or members of the U.S. military or the resistance fighters.
Yeah, everyone delivered a really good performance, because I can tell like there was a lot of investment in this script. So it was nice to see a sci-fi film where it takes itself seriously with some humorous moments on the side.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's keeping you interested in this world. And I would say, of all the actors, the one who gave out the one standout performance was the kid.
Oh yeah, the kid definitely had a really good performance. But what about the main kind of like military guy who lost a lot of things?
The general?
Not the general, no. Well, we'll get to the general in a second, but the main guy who was, who lost his wife and he was searching
for
her.
You're talking the main protagonist.
Yeah, the main protagonist.
I liked him too. I liked his performance, and I would say because he was in Tenet, Christopher Nolan's Tenet. I really
Yeah.
liked him in that. So it's nice to see he's continuing his performances, you could say, in this, where he's really caring about the material.
Yeah.
And I would say he was actually a pretty good character. Like,
Yeah.
he loses his family. He basically works with the U.S. military to take out AI forces.
Yeah.
But once he meets this main kid, Alfie,
Yeah.
he basically forms a connection with the kid where I'm like, okay, he basically lost a family, and he kind of sees that a little bit of that in this kid,
Yeah.
and he's going to do everything to protect her.
Yeah.
So he had a really nice storyline for the most part.
Yeah, because his main objective was to find his wife, because he thought his wife died, but then military kind of showed him an image of her alive somewhere, but
Yeah, but they weren't quite sure where. But I think what else can I say? The score by Hans Zimmer was really powerful, but he typically gives powerful scores, so I can't say anything bad about that.
yeah.
And I would say, like, the warning I kind of want to give people before they see the creator, and I told you this, is that you need to go into this knowing that this is not going to be an action movie, even though there is action and spectacle. This is more of a story-driven sci-fi film, but it is very interesting that I wanted to know more about the world that it was set in.
Yeah, it is a lot more story-driven, that is for sure. And now that I'm thinking about it a little bit too, there are some. I think there was a couple scenes from the trailer that didn't make it to the, cinematic.
I mean, that's kind of to be expected at this point. There are scenes in trailers that never make it into the finished product.
Yeah, now I'm thinking about there's like a couple scenes or something like that didn't make it to the final product. But then again, and though, like you said, it is to be expected.
Yeah, maybe if there's an extended cut, they'll put that stuff back in.
Maybe. There was like one that was like a boxing scene, although we did see a boxing scene in the beginning, but it was like in a form of like a commercial, so to speak, but not like, like how we saw it in the film, like actual like crystal clear or something like that.
Yeah. So in terms of where we're going to talk about the story, because like I said, there's not much to spoil, because there's a lot of details that I guarantee you people might not get the first time around. If they see it again, maybe they will.
No, but to start off the bat though, kind of like how the trailer kind of like told everybody right away, it starts off with LA getting nuked.
Well, before that, it starts off in like a 1950s kind of style of commercials where humanity has basically invented AI.
Yep.
And we've integrated them into our workforce, into our athletics, into daily life.
Daily life, whatever is, like you said, athletics, serving us food, becoming policemen, etc., etc.
Yeah, and the way this 1950s style was presented, it was like sort of seeing something out of the atomic age, where there was the nuclear arms race between the Soviet Union and the U.S. Yeah. And the way they presented all of this, it felt very atomic age.
Yeah.
And I've seen this before in one other film, the way it was presented, but in that movie it was more of like a time period piece. If you ever saw The Iron Giant and the way it presented all its commercials, because that film was set in the 50s, it makes sense because that was the atomic age. And it was really interesting to see that in this one as well.
Yeah. But
eventually, like you said, the AI supposedly drops a nuke on Los Angeles.
Yeah.
A massive one. You see how the mushroom cloud, and it like wipes out good portions of the city. Like it kills 1 million people, they say.
Yeah, killed a lot of people in that one. But yeah, it was just a kind of like a portion of like. Ground Zero was a portion of the city, but of course, LA now becomes inhabitable,
uninhabitable.
Uninhabitable, yeah.
But they do kind of eventually fix the city almost. Like we see the impact crater, and then I heard they were cleaning up the radiation still.
Yeah, the radiation has dropped down at, I want to say within, like, was it 2070, which also with that too, there's like a 2 time jump period. First one being kind of like chapter or act 1, which was the main protagonist's undercover mission, basically.
Yes, and he was all the way out in East Asia with his wife.
Yeah, which is called New Asia.
And they established that New Asia, it's like not really the entire continent. It's more like a small speck of the continent.
Which, I mean, if depending on how you kind of go about it, if it is just that small section, which the small section is the Thailand, Vietnam, Laos region, and maybe a little bit of Indonesia, those islands.
Maybe Papua New Guinea, but they never bring that up.
No, but it's mainly that area of like for mentioned Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, that region, and not China, not Japan, not Korea, not Mongolia, not India, Pakistan, all the other countries in Asia.
Yeah, and it's like I was sort of when we walked out, I was kind of wondering, like, okay, basically the U.S. they ban AI because of how destructive and dangerous it is.
After the nuke drop.
Yes, and then East Asia still allows AI, but there's this like war going on between the U.S. and people living in East Asia with the AI.
Yeah.
And basically, I was kind of telling you, like, okay, we see the U.S. and East Asia, but what about the European nations? Like, what do they have to do with this?
Or you've also mentioned like South America. I also brought up like Australia, the rest of like Asian countries, like the Middle Eastern countries. What happened to Africa, South America, Latin America? What happened to them? It's most of the majority of the world. What happened to them basically? Are they kind of part of like the United States per se as like a global alliance, or what happened really per se?
We can only theorize and guess, really,
Yeah.
but maybe if there's an extended version, there probably is something that would explain that.
Yeah, or maybe some sort of like visual, or kind of like a visual novel, or like a book, one of those like
Or like a newspaper clipping, even.
Yeah, I was thinking like more of like those like all those books that you see in like the bookstores where it's like you're paging through like the pictures of like characters, kind of like how like Star Wars or other films, you're reading about like certain characters in the background from like the settings basically.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. There used to be a lot of Star Wars books that would explain all the background stuff.
Yeah.
To sort of expand the lore and the characters.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it would have been nice if that was in there, but I don't know. All we can do is just theorize about the rest of what this world is.
Yeah, but because it kind of like localized to United States and that region of Asia, which again it's called New Asia, but it's like that southeastern region of Asia.
Yeah, and this is something I brought up is between the U.S. and East Asia. I actually saw some allegories to the Vietnam War in this film.
Oh, with like jungle warfare, basically.
Yeah, we see jungle warfare, but no tunnel rats, because in the Vietnam War there were these soldiers that went underground underneath the jungles and they surprise attacked. Yeah. We don't really see that. We just more see like the rainforest and the tropical environments.
Yeah.
And of course, the U.S. they have their advanced weaponry that they're using in the fight.
Yeah. Although tunneling was a little bit of a thing, and that's part of like the finding the super weapon per se, because they kind of had like a village built over like the lab facility.
Yeah, like they did. And there was one point where one of the villagers was saying, AI's evolution, it's the next step. Y'all are backwards.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't say y'all are backwards, but you get what I'm trying to get at here.
I think she said more of these guys had more heart than you.
That's it. The AI have more heart than the humans do, which is an interesting question to bring up. Because it's like, well, humans can have heart too, but that sort of depends on how many good people there are in this world.
Yeah.
And then you've, of course, got the AI, but what about the AI that may not have good hearts, you know?
Yeah.
Is there bad, malevolent AI running around in this world?
Yeah.
That's another question worth asking.
Yeah, but in this kind of like generalized setting, there's a lot more a lot more visuals of the good AIs, basically. There weren't a lot of like malicious AIs in this film.
Maybe there is a malicious AI, but they're not gonna like, introduce that. But who knows if they'll make a sequel to this?
Yeah. Although now that we got the introduction of AI units, per se in this film, we also got introduced to like augmented humans or cyborgs.
Simulants, as they call them.
Simulants, as they call them. But for everybody else, we can call them augmented humans. Or
cyborgs.
Well, cyborgs is kind of like how the main protagonist is, human but with a lot of mechanical parts. we also have, again, like augmented humans. I mean, kind of similar with cyborgs, I guess, per se. But this is like AI, but then now got human integrated faces like ours. Except the difference is the back of the head.
Yeah, it requires this like chip to put in the back.
Yeah, it requires a chip in the back. There's like a gaping hole right here where the ear would be.
I'm guessing that's how they pick up the sound.
Probably, yeah.
Something like that. But yeah, you got 3 different types of inhabitants. You got the robots, you got the simulants, you got the humans.
Yeah.
Although I would say there were more simulants in this film than there were robots and humans.
Yeah, which kind of makes me think like maybe the simulants or augmented humans are like the next step of this AI evolution.
That could be, unless someone figured out how to transfer their consciousness into a robotic body, and then they put the tissue on it, you know?
You mean how like that one field marshal or something like that, that lady was doing with the dead corpse going from one to the other?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, because there's that one scene where she kind of like, so a dead soldier right there, but she took a conscience from him, even though it was like 30 seconds long, but put it in another AI unit, and he was trying to explain, well, the guy was panicking.
Yeah, and then of course they have to shoot down all these people because they
Yeah.
don't really need them for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, where I'm like, someone could have figured out how to transfer human consciousness into these robotic bodies.
Yeah.
And there would have been nice if, I think, again, maybe there was a detail I missed, but I kind of feel like in this world that kind of thing can happen.
Yeah.
And it's like you could achieve immortality by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, some people would be too scared of the idea, or you have some people like how the guy did, where you wake up in another person's body, you turn to your left or right or whatever, and you see your former body just lying there.
Yeah, and it's an interesting concept that I guarantee you has been explored in other sci-fi films. And again, maybe it's in here, but they don't have too much of an emphasis on that, or maybe there was a detail I missed. I'm not entirely sure. And then, after we establish in this world, the nuke got dropped in LA, then they banned the AI.
Yep.
We do see, of course, the war between the AI and humanity.
Yep.
And I actually like how this is not a stereotypical, like, the AI did nuclear war on humanity and then the remnants are fighting back, like you've seen in Terminator and some other stuff.
No, this is more of a, yes, the nuke did get dropped, but civilization lived on, so now this is more of like a global warfare, basically, so to speak. Kind of kind of like how we responded after what, like Pearl Harbor or something of the sort, where it's like, yeah, this incident was bad, really bad, but now we gotta fight back.
Yeah, it's like that, where, you know, you have the attack on Pearl Harbor and then we respond by fighting back.
Yeah.
Only in this case, we're fighting back, but we also banned something at the same time.
Yeah.
And I kind of see, now that I think about it, the nuke dropping on LA, it's a Hiroshima allegory. Because, you know, they drop the bomb on the city, millions of people die. They kind of established that they're cleaning up the radiation, but there's still work to be done.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you know, Hiroshima is mostly cleaned up from that incident.
Yeah.
And so there's the war going on, but it's not really getting into mass destruction. It's just the two sides are fighting, but they're kind of like, I don't know if it's a stalemate, but I know the humans are winning this war.
They are, but I mean, you can almost say this is like another version of the Vietnam War, where it's like, there's not really like any like out knowing like oh my god, yeah, they're conquering territory. This is more like hey, we're gonna go in here, do our job and get on out of here, so to speak.
Yeah, it was like that. And so anyway, yeah, we did get introduced to the main protagonist. His name is Joshua.
Yeah.
And so he's having a kid with his wife. And he even questioned at one point, I think it was jokingly, "Am I the real dad?" Like I think I saw that.
It was like a whole like a family or like a two couples joke or stuff like that. Then like a strike force team came in, which then Joshua was still acting like he was with the augmented human or the AI. But then when they all left, he was, he kind of faked the shooting of the guy and was like, "What the bleep are you doing here?"
Yeah, and then the wife pulls a gun on him and then wants to leave, which I need to look up what that was about again. And so she leaves, and then they drop a missile which kills her and everybody else.
Yeah, well, we all thought it killed her. Well, initially, yeah.
Yeah, because they kind of established that these people can make copies of themselves in various robotic bodies, and then there were some it was kind of confusing because you see characters get shot and you can tell they're robots, but then in scenes later on you might see them again. Are there copies? Did they revive? Did they get repaired? I don't know if again, these are details I need to get again.
Well, what I remember too, because after the scene where we saw the two bodies, after oh, where did he go? Where did he go? You see another AI or augmented human standing over another one that looked exactly like him, even though he died. But then the next scene later, literally the next scene later, it was like one of those in Asia, so you see a lot of those commercials kind of pop up in the big board.
Oh, you mean in the city with all those pop-ups?
Yeah, pop-up thing.
Yeah, that reminded me heavily of Blade Runner, actually.
Yeah, but that pop-up showed an ad for facial likeness, or in this case, scanning your face and replicating it onto other AIs.
Yeah, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this looks like it came out of the Blade Runner films.
Yeah.
Because the way that city is presented, it's very Blade Runner-esque.
Yeah.
With the way the vehicles look, with the way people are going around, and of course the billboards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not a rip-off. It's more like taking inspiration and applying it here.
But I think that whole ad was kind of explains the whole well, why did that person look like you or stuff like that. It's well, that's because they probably, the advancement got to the point of scan your face, we're going to put it on another person.
Mm-hmm. But it was really interesting world building because there's just a lot in here that is just begging to get answers to or exploring.
Yeah.
And so I think we should talk about the general character a bit.
You mean the one that deep voice general that met up with or the lady? The general, the military woman, and they meet up with Joshua. Yep.
Yeah, this general character. I mean, he's your standard general character for the most part.
Yeah.
But you were you recognized the voice, but I couldn't tell who it was.
Yeah, that general, he reminded me of someone. I gotta look it up again. I wish I would have looked it up, prior to the start of this video recording, because he sounded a lot familiar to either a military film or a game or something of the sort. Similarly, I don't know where, but he sounded a lot familiar.
Yeah, he did, and I couldn't recognize who he was. But I mean, he had a really deep voice, which I felt really fitted his character and just the overall setting of this film. You got to have at least one general with that deep voice.
Yeah.
And so he basically recruits Joshua, and they tell him, "You're going to go with this squad. You're going to go into this territory of New Asia." And you need to find this super weapon and bring it back to us. Yeah,
it was more of a kind of a re-recruitment. You could say hey, you worked with us before. You were in this area before. You spent a lot of time down there. So we need you back in the fight. And he was like, I lost a family. I lost a family down there. All right, I lost my wife, lost my kid, and that nuke that you guys shouldn't even done in the first place.
Yeah, because it's eventually revealed the AI didn't do it. It was the humans that did it. At least that's what I remember hearing.
Well, that was the LA incident.
Yeah.
That was the LA that it was revealed that, it was just an accidental, miscode or something like that. That all of a sudden just drops the nuke in LA. Now, in terms of the mission, it was, the U.S. military, sent out a strike force looking for Nevada.
Because at the beginning of this film, they established that there's this Nirvana in this world, which is basically the creator of all this AI, or as it says, it's their god.
Yeah.
We never actually see Nirvana in this film, but you were saying they were kind of...
It was already shown, per se, because to me, it was because they explained that Nirvana was what the main protagonist, Joshua's the guy that he was with. He explained that. Well, wait, hold up. We didn't tell you this, but the Nevada was your wife. So I'm thinking like, well, wasn't it explained at some point that her dad was like creator or helping the idea of creating these AIs, and then she kind of took the, since she was, her, his kid, she took on the heritage or inherited the role. So then she became mother, basically.
Yeah, and that's actually, I think that's the explanation for it right there, because I probably missed on some of those details. I was just kind of thinking maybe Nirvana will have like a physical appearance, or maybe there'll be hints of the appearance.
Yeah, to me, because whenever they mention, after that point of like revealing that, hey, your wife Joshua was Nirvana, then it became to the point of, his former companion when he was undercover was like, we're not going to take you to her. No way. Or not take you to, quote unquote, mother, basically. Which then the AI child was like, did she, did she like you once? And he was like, she did once. She did. So Nirvana was, in this instant, was the wife.
All right. Again, these are probably details I'll need to, pick up on when I see this again. Because, I thought this was pretty good, good sci-fi, you're not going to get the details right away. It's usually with subsequent viewings you get the details.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, okay, I need to see this again to pick up on more details.
Yeah.
But I will say, when the squad goes in, as soon as they're starting, or the ships are flying, there was this really kind of cool little techno music. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like, I don't know if I can replicate it. But it was really nice, like, to let you know these guys are coming in and this is serious.
Yeah, heading back to trying to infiltrate the lab, if you're mentioning that, yeah.
Yeah, and as soon as they, get into the lab, we see these little devices they use to translate.
Yep.
And there was kind of this really bizarre moment where the translator really screwed up. And the person that was shouting, make love to your wife, or make love to this or that. And I'm like, wait, what?
I think it was more of them cursing out, basically, or insult, basically.
Yeah, but I kind of saw that as the translator mistranslated it.
I didn't see it as that. I thought it was more of a trash talk, basically. He's so to speak, or insult to the person.
Or maybe it was an insult that I'm not familiar with.
I kind of chuckled a little bit because I was like, oh.
Yeah, maybe it would have been kind of funny if the translator said, all your base are belong to us.
No, that would have not fit the mood there.
No memes like that?
Not like that, no. I think the more fitting of that move would have been more of touch grass.
Probably. But yeah, so they go through the lab, and then Joshua does find the so-called super weapon.
Yep.
But it's a child.
Child that has remote control capabilities.
Yeah, she has this ability where she does this namaste pose with her hands, and can remotely control the tech by shutting it down or reactivating it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of an interesting image to have in there.
Yeah, so it was kind of interesting how she would, kind of do that pray pose and then just, and then it's just all right, everything's off, go. Or everything's kind of shut down or power into her favor and time to get going.
Yep. And then post that, he basically doesn't want to kill this kid, even though they tell him, you gotta destroy the kid.
Yep.
Of course, he doesn't want to do it because, again, I'm like, he lost one family, he grows some sort of attachment to this kid and doesn't want her to suffer.
It's just more of it's just a kid. It first went from, it's just a kid, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, you know her, the wife, his wife? Take me to her. So it's it went from just a kid to, no, this is a map or a guide to her, so he can say, he's sorry, so to speak, or trying to make up. Then, he grew attachment to the child.
Yeah, it's kind of that trope of kids are innocent, we can't harm them,
Yeah.
Which is something that has shown up in a lot of other different sci-fi properties and even fantasy properties and some other stories, you know.
That's for sure. Yeah.
It was, you know, kind of familiar, but I liked the way it was executed, so at least it was interesting to watch.
Yep.
And then the middle section is basically, see, this is where I kind of feel like I really like the opening of this film. I really like the beginning.
Yep.
And then the ending was, so I heard some criticisms it was rushed, but I was like so invested in it, but by the time it stopped, I'm like, wait, that's it? But the middle section is kind of where like, where we're following Joshua and the child and all the stuff. The child does have a name, Alfie.
Yep.
And they're going through basically the different parts of New Asia. They're meeting up with Ken Watanabe's character and his resistance forces. And they're basically tagging along with them because they're trying to evade the U.S. forces that basically want Alfie terminated.
Yep.
It's kind of like, now that I think about it, the U.S. is the Terminator here. And then Joshua is Kyle Reese and he's protecting this AI. It's kind of like a Terminator inspiration almost.
Maybe, but I'm not too sure if it's more Terminator than, I don't know what else to put it per se. Just because this is like a, you know, military going after one person versus, you know, Terminator, even though when the Terminator did came in, it was going after, was it the
it was going after Sarah Connor
Yeah.
at first, and then Kyle Reese is there to protect her from the
Yeah.
Terminator.
Yeah.
And then in the next one, it was basically the T-1000 going after John Connor.
Yeah.
And then the T-800 has to protect him.
Yeah.
So it's basically like Joshua, he's got to protect this child, and the U.S. forces that are coming after them, they're basically the Terminator in this.
Yeah, or something like that. Well, maybe, but then again, it's like, I don't know, but then again, it's like, I don't know what else to kind of like point towards as a comparison or an alternative comparison.
Well, I did hear that there was some Terminator influence in this, so that's where I'm coming from, and other reviewers did point it out.
Yeah.
And during the middle section, actually, there were some really big action sequences that happened. The standout one being where they send in like these big, bulky robots, and they're charging, and then they kamikaze the troops.
Oh, the kind of like the bomb robots or something like that. Yeah, where it's just like you have like a 60 seconds or something like that. Charge out there, that far you can go and just blow up.
Yeah, they were kind of like, I don't know if they were, kamikazing is just the word I went with.
Yeah.
But it's like they're sending in the bomber droids or the bomber men to take out
Yeah.
the resistance forces.
But yeah, slightly kind of like before that though. I mean, or slightly before that, you know, they sent out those bomb droids. The giant kind of like tanks, basically.
Oh yeah, the giant tank, because it's like going through the village and like bringing down all the buildings.
Yeah, homing, you know, selecting out targets basically, and it's tracking them too, and then they're sending out the homing seeking missiles too.
Oh yeah, and you saw like blue circles around the targets that they take out. That was actually really cool.
Yeah.
And I will admit, during this entire tank sequence, the visuals looked so good. It looked like they looked like interchangeable from the Avatar films. It seriously did.
Yeah.
Like I was making some visual effects comparisons with Avatar in this. That's how good the visual effects were.
So yeah, during that whole, you know, basically operation sequence right there, the child was able to hold the second one, hold the second, you know, bomb droid from going further.
Yeah.
But then you had like the kind of like surgeon or the other guy kind of go out there try to retrieve the child, even though he shot the child and was trying to retrieve it. But then Joshua stopped him and kind of shot him, which then all the augmented human AIs were like, okay, you shot him without hesitation. All right, maybe you do have a change of heart.
Something like that. But again, details I need to catch up on with the second viewing.
Yeah, because they kind of stopped, halted, and were like, huh? Okay, I mean, I guess you're on our side. All right, we'll take you to her. Because if you're willing to help the child, I guess you're helping us out too.
Yeah, and I will say with the middle section of this film, I did kind of get a bit lost, you know?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this was not a super difficult film to follow.
Yep.
But it's like, I was just kind of like, I was invested, but it's like, okay, maybe I missed a detail here or two. I may maybe skipped something.
Yeah,
Was
so
there
they went-
something I didn't get the first time?
So we went from one base to the other, which was where the mother reside, basically, because then they're like, well, she needs to heal. They have proper treatment for the child, which she got for treatment, but the mother, which Joshua wanted to see, which was his wife, she was on her last breath, basically.
Yeah, like you see her with the tube that they connect her to give her oxygen.
And it would explain that, well, that nuclear explosion that happened on the night, well, she didn't exactly survive. She was like on her last, she tried to, when that happened, when that occurred, she was basically been on life support since then.
Yeah.
Because, she's been on life support, the child didn't make it. So, yeah, I mean, this is as far as she can go.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm just trying to think what else was in the middle section. Like Joshua goes to a friend of his regarding the child within the city.
Oh yeah, way back before the whole military second operation and stuff like that, or the third one, and then another one, that battle sequence. He finds the friend, which he kind of settled down with an AI companion.
Yeah, he did. Which is like another Blade Runner comparison I can make, where basically in Blade Runner 2049, the main character is a replicant, but he's settled down with a holographic girlfriend.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, that's another Blade Runner influence right there.
Yeah.
But of course, his AI companion gets taken out.
Yeah.
And he mourns her and then basically joins the fight with them.
Rejoins, yep.
Yeah.
Or rejoins the fight in their side, and then he tries to find, he goes to the old house where it got exploded, and then it was revealed what happened that night, and then I don't know how the child reacted to the visual, the holographic playback.
Yeah, because there was a bit of that. Again, I need to see this again.
Yeah, but then of course the dude dies, and he explains, and that's when the explanation came in to Joshua that, hey, your wife was Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole sequence kind of went by. Then we're back to the point of wife is on the last breath. So now it's like, now you got like any other situation in real life where this person, they can't do much else. Pull the plug, or in this case, turn off.
Mm-hmm. And then, again, there's not a whole lot I can say about the middle section, because I got kind of lost in it. But towards the end, that's when they decide, well, let's go up to the Nomad ship and let's take it out.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of planned out by the AI or the augmented human. It was just more of, how do you get there?
And this is where I kind of got lost again. Like, did they take a spaceship up there, right?
They did, but it was an unorthodox way of doing it a little bit. So the situation was this, because after their encounterment with the general lady, which she then died because of the guy or the augmented human who kind of like shot a thermal detonator on the back of her, which then exploded, and then they as Joshua, the child, and then Joshua grabbed a chip of, all the memory and stuff like that of his wife. But as they were escaping, the U.S. military didn't know what occurred in the temple. All they know is, hey, you have the child, Nirvana's dead, let's get you out of here, you're a hero. They didn't know that he kind of had a change of heart. They didn't know that.
Yeah, they did not.
So then Joshua went through the sequence of doing what the general, told him to do, but in secrecy, he kind of just put her on standby and fake shooting of the EMP, or maybe missed the EMP shot.
That's probably what happened.
And then during that whole kind of like driving to like what looks like to be like a funeral, sort of speak, even though the journal said it wasn't. But then it was realized that, hey, this was sort of planned out, and when they were about to do it, Joshua said, all right, they figured us out, let's do it. She, do this, car kind of like flips on its sides. They escape. They get to an airport. They get on a flight.
Yeah, it was like a lunar airport.
Yeah, lunar airport. And then they kind of like got on a flight to, I forgot where, either the moon or somewhere.
They were gonna go towards the moon, but then they like diverted the ship towards Nomad.
Well, what happened was, they were heading towards the moon per se, and then they would have took control, but then they were called back to LA because, well, they got on a flight and they want to get all flights back onto the ground. But they took control, but Child took control of the flight and was flying towards Nomad. Well, you have also civilians on there, so you can't really shoot down there.
Exactly.
So they parked in they parked in Nomad, and of course, all the civilians left outside. They were able to kind of like beat out the guards, and then their objective was kind of like split up. Joshua puts a bomb in one of the missiles that's still stationed on the ship.
Yeah, I do remember that.
While the kid shuts down, goes ahead and shuts down or disables the missile grid.
So when the missiles like hit this I remember, the missiles hit the ground but they don't actually explode.
That's when the whole thing just blows up basically. But it was still active because she shuts it down, but then it sort of like reactivates the thing. So it's like you stop the missiles from launching. While the other missiles that are still launched, they're still going to hit their target and they're still going to explode. It's just the thing of once you disable it completely, like the thing blows up, that's when, like you said, it'll crash without exploding because it'll lose its impact point and it'll just kind of skid and not hit and it blow up.
Yeah. And then, of course, after they shut it down, they're like, okay, we got to get off, but the bomb's going to blow up Nomad. Only Joshua lets Alfie go because he's the one that needs to basically go down with the ship.
Well, this sequence that was actually more of a... They were trying to get, he wanted to get her back to the ship to use that aircraft ship to escape. That didn't go as planned because the child found a augmented human that was basically had the likeness of the mother.
And the likeness of the mother, yeah.
So then she tried to revive her using the chip. That didn't go. She didn't wake up right away. But then, so she decides to go save Joshua before he loses oxygen. So then they go onto the escape pod. Well, it didn't go exactly as planned because the general realized, hey, the child and him are trying to get to an escape pod and escape before the whole thing explodes. So then he sends in like that robotic arms to terminate them both.
Yeah, it was like this tentacled thing.
Yeah, robotic, kind of like Octo.
Dr. Octopus.
Yeah, Dr. Octo from Spider-Man, that little robotic.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of Dr. Octopus animation in those tentacles.
Yep. So then that was occurring, but then of course, they closed the escape pod, but the escape pod was locked shut. She was able to disable those tentacles, but again, the escape pod is locked. And the timer, they were running out of time basically. It was like at the last 50-second mark or last couple minutes. And he was like, you can't do much else. Launch her because better her to escape than him.
And of course, as he goes through Nomad, he's eventually reunited with the likeliness of his wife.
Yep.
They embrace one more time, and then the ship blows up, and they go down with it.
Yep.
I will admit, when the ship does explode and it crashes into the earth, those are really nice visuals.
Yeah.
I mean, most great sci-fi has amazing visuals like that, so
Yeah.
it's really nice to see that here.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I do like about Gareth Edwards. He always knows how to make his visuals look really, really pretty to look at.
Yeah.
And of course, the AI, the robots, they're all celebrating the fact that the U.S. Nomad got taken down.
Which subsequently kind of like, well, without USS Nomad, they can't go really on their global offensive anymore, per se.
Yeah. And it just kind of made me wonder, like, at the end, if they are going to make a sequel to this. But Gareth Edwards has said he wanted this to be self-contained, like he wasn't really planning on building a franchise from this.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense in how the ending went. Because it's like, well, Nomad blew up, the protagonist died, the child did survive, but how are you really going to build off of that?
Maybe if they just leave it as one film, it'll probably be better that way.
Yeah.
Because I know most of Neill Blomkamp's sci-fi films, a lot of them never really got sequels. They just kind of ended where they were.
Yeah.
So this kind of follows in that tradition, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's probably better that way because Gareth Edwards, he never did a sequel to his first movie, Monsters. They made the sequel without him, but it wasn't very good. Then he never came on board to do the sequel to Godzilla. Someone else did that.
Yeah.
But that does not mean the Godzilla sequel was bad. I enjoyed it for what it was. And Gareth Edwards, I mean, if he spends his entire career making self-contained films, that would be nice. Because sometimes you just don't need to make sequels to everything you do.
Yep.
So it's nice to, get a sci-fi film that, I mean, it takes inspiration from other stuff, but it feels original enough that, I could actually see this getting a cult following.
Probably a mass likeness to this film, and that's about it basically, because this is most likely not going to be expanded upon unless you want to get more details about the film, but it's not going to make a sequel. I don't know about prequel either.
Well, they can't make a prequel because that wouldn't really be an interesting film to watch.
No, but sequel wise, it doesn't feel like it will be a sequel. So it's just like it's just gonna be a one-time film, basically.
Well, in the Hollywood system, they will find ways to make stuff to sequels if it makes enough money and proves to be profitable. But I don't know how the box office is gonna play out with this because this had some competition with its release, but we shall see where that goes.
Speaking of films and stuff like that, we did see a poster heading into the film.
Well, before we get into that, gotta address something quick. Just hold on a second.
Yep.
You were saying?
The poster of the slasher film, which...
Oh, yeah, we were walking into the theater. We saw a poster for a slasher film called Thanksgiving.
Yeah, which is, going to be premiered in November, because, it's the,
it's the holiday
things.
season.
Well, that particular holiday of being Thanksgiving. But... Why do we need a Thanksgiving slasher film?
Well, think of it this way. There's been slasher films set around Christmas time. There's been slasher films around Halloween or any time of the year. I know there's been Easter Bunny slasher films. But those are kind of direct-to-video. Not a lot of people know about them.
Yeah, I was about to say, I definitely know we have seen a lot of horror in the Halloween. Get that part. And other aspects of the years. There are a few horror slashers in Christmas. And Easter, not a whole lot.
Well, there are killer Easter Bunny films, but they're mostly direct-to-video.
Yeah, or you mean like YouTube or something like that? Maybe.
Yeah, people doing stuff like that.
Okay, but not like Hollywood-esque per se.
Nothing that I've seen.
Yeah. This is a Hollywood thing where I just need an explanation in terms of why Thanksgiving. I mean, I would probably have to see a trailer to see what's the idea behind this slasher film.
Well, maybe it's an Amish person who feels that you're not really representing our true history, so I'm gonna go out and kill.
I don't know. That had a bloody axe, so who knows?
Yeah, and he had the.
It was like a hooded with one of those the old doctor or something like that.
Like an old New England look almost.
Yeah, it was definitely not the bird thinking, but it was like that New England hat basically with the bloody axe, with the bloody bronze axe. I want to say. Either way, though, it was like one of those things where it's like, why Thanksgiving of all slasher films?
I guess maybe because Halloween and Christmas have been used up, we gotta sort of go to the other one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, with Thanksgiving being the middle, but I'm just thinking Thanksgiving?
Well, I do know for certain there was one horror anthology that had different stories set around different holidays.
Yeah.
One of them did not involve a killer Easter bunny. It basically involved an Easter bunny human hybrid that if it sees a child the eve before Easter, the child has to take its place. There was one Easter horror film I saw that was like that.
Yeah. I did see a horror killer film. Remember the Grinch? I don't know. I don't think you saw this or seen a trailer of this, but it was the Grinch.
The Grinch horror film?
Yep.
I saw the poster. I didn't really see the trailer.
I saw the trailer. Yeah, it did have like the jump scare horror slasher element, but it was supposed to be kind of one of those like B-rated movie feel to it.
I think it was basically the filmmakers wanted to take an established character and just kind of put a horror spin on it.
Yeah.
They did the exact same thing with Winnie the Pooh earlier this year.
Oh, that's right. I remember Winnie the Pooh. I remember seeing trailers for it too.
Yeah, it was Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, where basically Pooh and Piglet, they're killers now and they go on a rampage.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to remember, like, I didn't even see the film, but why? But why did they go on a rampage?
Well, the reason why is because Winnie the Pooh fell into the public domain. So because of that, anyone can do anything with the character now.
Okay.
On the condition, it is not the Disney version they're adapting.
I was gonna say more of in terms of the film. Why did he go on a rampage?
Oh, you want to know why?
Yeah.
Well, basically, they established that Christopher Robin, he makes friends with Pooh, Piglet, Rabbit, and Eeyore, and Owl.
Yep.
But then he has to go to college to become a doctor, so he leaves his friends to fend for themselves. But it gets so cold that they starve, and then they kill and eat Eeyore, and this proves to be so traumatic that they develop a hatred of humanity, and they basically attack anyone that enters the 100-acre wood.
So the fact that
Christopher Robin abandoned these guys.
well left them for college, which for them they should understand that per se.
Well, basically, these were they were crossbreeds animals.
Yeah.
The film establishes they were crossbreeds, and they were kind of dependent on Christopher Robin. And when he left, they had to fend for themselves.
Okay, so he was more feeding them, but then when he left, their source of food, left with it.
Yeah.
So then they had to fend for themselves, which then they left to basically cannibalize,
They cannibalized Eeyore.
Eeyore, which traumatized them to the point of killing other people.
Yeah, and then they basically were like, Christopher Robin abandoned us. He is the enemy now.
So would it be more of if he dies, then they could just go off in peace, sort of per se, or
No, basically, they just went insane after being in the 100-acre wood for so long. But from what I remember, a lot of people really hated the movie.
probably just because it gave a bad light to Winnie the Pooh?
Yeah, and it was a beloved childhood icon. You take that and you basically do this like slash fest with it.
/ horror fest, yeah. I wonder how people reacted to the Grinch then film, because I think I've never seen clips of it where it's like, reason why Grinch went so horror slasher like was because the girl, remember the little girl?
Oh, little Cindy Lou Who?
Yeah, because it kind of played off like, I think the background story was played off like the, why? But then I think the mother came down and then she panicked and then she was trying to grab something and then he accidentally killed her.
In a struggle.
Which then little Cindy Lulu, had a dark, hate, yelled out, hated, him, which then that got a bad reaction.
So basically someone did a what-if scenario with the Grinch.
Yep, kind of like a what-if scenario, where it's like, well, he accidentally killed the mom, little Cindy Lulu said she hated him for killing the mom, and then he became bad.
Oh. So it's kind of a what-if scenario, like what if the Grinch decided, I'm gonna kill people now?
Well, based off of the fact that, well, now you have one person hated him, and now he just becomes the monster that she envisioned him to be, and then to make up for it, she had to apologize. And then how like the whole like that ending sequence of three heart, his heart grew 3 sizes. They kind of took that literally.
Oh jeez, it actually physically grew.
Yep, it physically grew, which killed him.
So he has a heart attack, and that's what takes him out, or cardiac arrest.
Basically. The heart literally grew 3 sizes soon enough where he had a cardiac arrest and the heart blew up and he died.
Oh dear gosh, I gotta see this now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't get enough attention compared to the Winnie the Pooh film because I
No.
think Winnie the Pooh's more popular than the Grinch is.
Probably only because Winnie the Pooh can be played, any time of the year, whereas the Grinch is more of a holiday,
It's a Christmas thing.
Yeah,
It's always been a
Christmas,
Christmas thing.
a holiday Christmas theme, yeah. Once a year.
Well, I do know with the Winnie the Pooh film, it made like a lot of money at the box office
Yeah.
due to its infamy, and because of that, there's a sequel on the horizon, and Tigger is going to be in the sequel
Oh boy.
because he's fallen into the public domain, and I saw a picture of what he's going to look like.
Is it gonna be like one of those like tiger with like a kind of like a long teeth, kind of similarly to like Sabretooth esque?
It kind of looks more like a liger, not really a tiger or a saber tooth.
Alright, interesting.
Yeah.
Which then begs the question then, what's gonna happen to other beloved, like innocent characters turned dark?
Oh, would you like to know?
Let's see, because I remember,
I'll tell ya. Basically, the director of the Winnie the Pooh horror film, he wants to make a horror film called Bambi the Reckoning, where Bambi gores hunters in the woods for killing his mother.
ooh.
So it's going to be
what a twist.
Bambi gets his revenge on the hunters.
Ooh, what a twist. Although that sounds like one of those like, B-rated, like animal horror films.
Yeah, it does.
Kind of like how like Cocaine Bear or one of those like I think there was
the
like
Meg films, although
Meg.
those are more...
Meg films, yep, or like there was like an Alaska film that had like a bear or something like that as well. Just something of that sort where it's like a deer, but in this instance, a deer is taking vengeance upon hunters that killed, the hunters that killed his mom.
Well, I kind of want to see it because, the idea of Bambi getting his revenge, it's kind of like, I don't know, it would be very cathartic to watch.
Did you see the game? Probably gameplays of even though it's like a very short game, but it's like a horror of like the choo-choo train, so to speak. I forgot what was the train's name's called, but it was like a train that had like spider legs.
A train that had spider legs.
Think of like think of Charlie the Choo-Choo Train, but more demonic looking, and has spider legs, and could chase after you, and it's giant.
I don't think I saw gameplay of that, but I have seen a parody where Thomas the Tank Engine grows legs and goes on a rampage.
Or yeah, not Charlie the Choo-Choo Train, but Thomas the Tank Engine. That's right, I was thinking of that one. Or yeah, not Charlie the Choo-Choo Train. Thomas the Engine. Imagine him, but bigger, demonic looking, spider legs, chasing after you.
I don't know if I saw footage of that, but I have seen one parody where he grows human legs, goes on a rampage, but then Harold the helicopter's like, "You're not you when you're hungry," and gives him a Snickers.
I will show you gameplay of that scary train thing. People probably out there, you've probably seen it from I think like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and a few others that have played this game. I'll show you that one.
It kind of sounds like an indie game because
it is an indie game.
Indie games do that stuff where they're actually more scarier than the AAA horror games.
Yep, it is an indie game. That is for sure.
You're gonna have to show me this.
Yep.
But yeah, outside of Bambi the Reckoning, there's also Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, where there's an evil Peter Pan that kidnaps kids.
Oh, is it kind of like the reverse, where it's like Captain Hook's actually the good guy?
That might be the case, because the director of the Winnie the Pooh horror film wants to do that, and then he wants all the characters to cross over in a big event picture of sorts.
So are we just gonna have like this alternative universe of like all Disney characters gone evil?
It sounds like he wants to do that.
Or like gone a horror-esque and then all the bad guys turn good?
Yeah, it sounds like he wants to do that, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because he also said possibly making a horror adaptation of the Teletubbies.
Oh, God.
Which I'm like...
We've already got enough of those by people themselves doing it.
Wait, what?
People have already made like horror, something of the sorts of the Teletubbies.
Well, this director wants to do it. But many people who saw Teletubbies said there was like one segment that was genuinely terrifying. A cutout of a bear and a lion, and there's this little segment where they're chasing each other. Reportedly, that upset parents, and some kids were traumatized by that.
Yeah.
They never aired it in the U.S., so I never saw that as a child.
Yeah, probably for reasonings of the sorts.
And then the director of this Winnie the Pooh horror film said he might want to do something with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I don't know what his logic is behind that.
Don't know. What's his logic behind Barney?
He's never mentioned that. But if they do a scary Barney, YouTube's done plenty of that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how he could do that. Like, there was one evil Barney skit I saw on YouTube where he basically was an evil bus driver, and you see these evil pictures of him, and all you hear in the audio is him mistreating the kids and stuff.
Oh, God.
It was like, that's like early YouTube, what can we get away with kind of thing.
Yeah, well, of course, YouTube back in the days, you can get away with a lot of stuff. Nowadays, with YouTube, a lot of rules. It's hard, it's hard to do, hard to do other things without you having to make sure your ratings are what they are and follow guidelines and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff has kind of hurt the place, but some channels do their best to survive. I do know some of the stuff from early YouTube is still up there.
Yeah.
It's old now, but it's still up there. And people go into the comment sections describing how nostalgic that stuff was for them.
Yeah, probably, but there are a lot of YouTube videos that are just taken off, though.
Yeah, some are lost to time, or you can find them on the Internet Archive.
Yeah, which the Internet Archive could be iffy from time to time, that's for sure. Like the Time Machine.
You know this?
The YouTube, or not the YouTube, the web, the Time Machine or something.
The Internet Archive can be a little iffy.
Well, yeah, because I've tested out like the one, it was like the Time Machine.
The Wayback Machine.
The Wayback Machine, yep. And whenever you try to go to YouTube, it'll bring up like the home page, but if you try to search within that particular home, the YouTube homepage of the Wayback Machine, it could be a dice roll in terms of like, will it work or will it not work?
Yeah, I mean, it's not perfect. I've tested the Wayback Machine myself. There's a lot of Adobe Flash features that are not going to work.
Yeah.
Because that's not supported anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of stuff that we probably remember is got to be lost to time at this point.
Yeah.
Although I did use it to access some old film reviews that I did like.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got a little off topic there. But yeah, the Thanksgiving horror film. I mean, maybe there's a trailer for it. I don't know.
Well,
but
we're about to hit October here, so there better be a trailer at some point, if not out there already.
Yeah,
there's already a poster.
Yeah, but it's like, I can just tell from the poster, it's just going to be a generic slash fest. Like, it won't do anything outside of killer goes nuts on Thanksgiving, murders people, and then there's people that fight back.
Well, it has. Hopefully, there's a trailer out there to explain the story behind it.
Something like that. But the trailers that we did get in front of the creator, like, we had this one film where it was John Cena.
Yep, Freelance. Yep, Freelance.
Yeah, he was going around with like Allison Brie and someone else, and they're like in a South American nation, and they're being funny and doing action.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like, oh yeah, he was like a former like freelance or stuff like that, and it's like, hey, he decided to go being a job as like a lawyer. He's like, yeah, this is, it takes the life away of you. And it's like, how do you want to join back? It's like, why? Well, because we got okay, who's the reporter that, that's in this chaotic area? And it's her, and he still was like, but why?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a John Cena vehicle. I mean, he's not really someone I want to go see, so I'll probably leave that to his fans. But at least the one trailer that we did get was Aquaman 2. We finally got the Aquaman 2 trailer.
Yep.
And I kind of want to talk about that a little bit.
Oh, the Aquaman 2 trailer?
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about that one a little bit.
What do you want to talk about?
Because this is the final film in the first DC cinematic universe before we get the reboot in 2 years.
Oh, yeah?
It's nice that, they're keeping the release date, because I seriously thought this was going to get delayed due to the strike.
Yeah.
But I guess Warner needs something for the holidays, so they got that coming.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to continue off the last one. It looks big and epic. And I do want to know, because they said this does take place after The Flash. So it's like aspects of it are preserved.
Well, on one hand, we didn't see a lot of Amber Heard characters in like trailers.
You only get like one segment of her, but I guess it's because of all the controversies surrounding her, they reduced her screen time in the trailer.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if, if something may happen to her, basically.
There's a lot of speculation that her screen time has been significantly reduced in this.
But to the point to where, I mean, I wonder if if she may be like, they change it to where she may die in the film, basically.
Like they kill her off.
Yeah.
They could do that. I would not be surprised if they did that.
Yeah.
Because right now Amber Heard's reputation is really hurting her.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe they'll kill her off.
Yeah.
I mean, but at least we're going to see more of Black Manta.
Yep.
Because we had little bits of him in the last one, so now he's getting the full attention. So it looks like he'll be the main villain.
Yep, and with the Black Trident.
Yeah, and he's going to cause a lot of destruction, and basically, I just want to see him drop a line where he goes, "Once this is all done, I am pillaging the treasures of Los Angeles," because he's a pirate essentially.
Yeah.
And then of course we're going to see Orm and Aquaman team up.
Yeah.
But we'll see if Orm betrays him or not, because, I mean, Orm's the bad guy, so we'll see what happens.
That's for sure, yeah. Or if Aquaman's like, you know what, I'm good with this whole king thing. If you want to be king, fine.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see. We'll kind of see how it plays out, because, I mean, this is the final film in the DC Cinematic Universe, but the first one. But it's so weird to close it off on Aquaman,
Yeah.
Because this entire cinematic universe, it started with Superman. Usually you'd want to start it with Superman or Batman.
Yeah.
You would want to close it off, like bookend it with Batman or Superman. But closing this off with Aquaman, interesting choice.
It is an interesting choice, but then again, with how it went off right away, you kind of understand that you have to finish it off one way or the other before doing the revival of the next one.
Yeah. I mean, the best DC universe, which was the animated one of Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, and the two Justice League cartoons.
Yep.
It started with Batman, and it ended with Batman in a really impactful way.
Yep.
And then that entire 15-film saga, it started with Flashpoint and ended with Flashpoint.
Yeah.
So it's like, with DC, I just feel like if you bookend, it's gonna be really good.
Yeah.
But if you don't bookend, something's clearly gone wrong here.
Yeah. Which, like you said, the 15-film animated of like the dark, apocalypse.
Yeah, the Apocalypse War.
Yep.
It started with Flashpoint, then ended with Flashpoint again.
Yeah. Yes. It started with Flashpoint and it ended with a Flashpoint, reference because, was it Constantine?
John Constantine.
John Constantine, he was like, you know what you have to do.
Clear the board, start again.
Because it's like, well, this universe, or this particular timeline is screwed.
And if you reset it, it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be better than what we've got.
Which is true, because in that timeline, the Earth has been...
It was basically ravaged by Darkseid and his forces.
Yep. And the core was damaged enough to where it will cause another ice age, which would
it would freeze the planet over, and it would take a while before they could get anything under control.
Yep. And it's like Superman tried to do something like alter the Earth to where it goes back to its normal, but then Batman was like, I could list off a lot of things why it would go bad.
Yep. I mean, for the most part, that ending, I think, worked with that universe because it was closing off that entire storyline.
Yeah.
Even if, it just led to another reboot. But at least, that had a book ending to it.
Yeah.
With this current universe, it's like, this isn't really a bookend. It's like, we reset everything. We're transitioning into this new phase now.
Yeah.
And we just kind of need to see how people are going to react to it.
Yep.
But what I do know is that they confirmed the actor that played Blue Beetle is going to come back.
Yep.
So they're keeping him on board.
Yep. And then with the assumption now that Ezra is going to be back as the Flash.
Oh, I think there's talk they're not going to bring Ezra back.
Then how would they explain his gone, I should say?
They might recast the character. I don't quite know what they're going to do, but the Flash bombed so hard at the box office, the chances of a sequel happening are very slim at this point.
All right.
So they might do a recasting and get someone else.
All right.
And they better, because, I mean, any actor that's better than Ezra, good for me. I just didn't think Ezra was that great.
I wonder if we're going to get Patterson as Batman.
That's completely separate. They're not going to bring that into this new universe.
And who's going to be the new Batman?
They haven't confirmed it yet, but they have confirmed Damian Wayne's going to show up in The Brave and the Bold. So you'll see Batman, but you'll see the Bat family and Damian Wayne. But I'm not quite sure what they're going to do just yet or who they're going to get. But in terms of Batman, there was talk of possibly bringing Ben Affleck back for the Aquaman sequel. Which, there's like, maybe it's Michael Keaton, maybe it's Ben Affleck, but nothing's been confirmed so far. Even though there's like talk of something and here and there, but it's like, why throw Batman in an Aquaman story? I don't think he needs to be there. But I guess it's DC being, we can't do it without a famous character. But it's like, no, DC, you can do it without a famous character. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how Aquaman 2 plays out, because I mean, it's the last film of this first phase before we get to the next one. But I mean, maybe it'll deliver on the visuals. I know it'll deliver on action spectacle, but we'll see. We'll kind of see where it plays out. And then there's this Hunger Games film that we got a trailer for.
Oh yeah, and I'm thinking this is like a prequel to the Hunger Games, because I'm thinking the young guy with the white hair. I'm thinking that's Snow.
I never saw any of the sequels, so.
Well, the original 3 with
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yep, Jennifer Lawrence. You have this sort of like bad guy, which is like the president. It was like President Snow.
Yeah, I know who the character is. It's just I never really saw any of the sequels past the first one.
Well, he was shown, I believe, the first and the second one.
He was.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, like, I'm gathering the two together, and I'm like, well, he had white hair, and this young guy had white hair, and Peter Dinklage is referencing Snow a lot to this guy who has white hair. I'm thinking that this guy is Snow.
Maybe.
President Snow.
I didn't
just in his younger years.
I didn't catch that, so I guess it's nice that you caught that,
Well, yeah, I'm catching that just because I'm thinking, like, well, he's referencing Snow a lot. They're referencing that this is the first Hunger Game ever, which in the Hunger Games that we saw with Jennifer Lawrence, this was how many years into that, per se, or what was the Hunger Game number?
It was set somewhere in the future.
Yeah, so
but I forget what it was.
Yeah, I forgot what number it was in terms of the Hunger Games at that point. But it was already established and the rules was set in place, so everyone knew how it played out. Whereas this one, it sounded like a new idea.
It probably is, like maybe how the game started. Yep. I got a little bit of that in the trailer. But I just want to know if, like, the Hunger Games fans are going to show up in, like, large numbers, because the craze surrounding the Hunger Games has pretty much died off at this point.
Yeah, it has died off, because I remember that being very popular in the middle school years.
Oh, it was very popular. I saw the first film, but never really came around to seeing the sequels.
I saw the first one, I saw the second one. I didn't see the technically the third book, which is part 1 and part 2. So the third and the fourth film.
Yeah.
But I did read all the books.
Yeah, and my siblings read all the books too. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't completely invested in that universe.
Yeah.
And at the time, like, YA films, they just weren't really clicking with me.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I saw the second Maze Runner in the cinema, and that really killed my interest in YA films.
Oh yeah.
Because I never saw the third one, and I didn't care about any others that came out after that.
Yeah.
And I avoided the Divergent films completely.
I also kind of figured that film, The Hunger Games, kind of brought up the idea of battle royales in gaming.
Well, I mean, there's been battle royales in the past.
Yeah, but it didn't grow into the likeness as it did today, basically, without the Hunger Games.
I think I know what you're getting at here. Are you going to bring up Fortnite as a battle royale?
Fortnite, yep. There was like the Minecraft Minecraft version of the Hunger Games, because Minecraft, someone made like a server which had Hunger Games as the foundation, the battle royale, and again, I think that was before Fortnite. But either way, Fortnite came out, which was supposed to be its other, supposed to be like a survival game with building aspect, but then it had the multiplayer of battle royale, which that got way more popular.
Yeah,
in an instant.
A little too popular, I would say.
Yeah, then it expanded beyond belief. way beyond belief.
No, I'm sure of it. I mean, I've heard stuff here and there, but I try not to pay attention to the Fortnite stuff too much.
I can show you a map. It got a lot crazy in terms of its expansion. It expanded to Star Wars. It expanded to Marvel.
Oh, I'm aware of all that. It's
Yeah.
just like there's so much stuff. How do you
Yeah.
keep up? You know.
Yeah, no, it's so much.
It's kind of like with World of Warcraft. There's so many expansions. Like, how do you keep up?
Here's the thing. It's like with Fortnite, me and my the buddies, we started playing when it's just started. But then when more and more, especially like the 8-12-year-olds, started coming in more and more and more and more and more. And it's just like, all right, time to abandon ship.
Yeah, the younger crowd can kill it.
Yeah, but now that they join, but other people and other people, like older, younger, or whatever the case is, it just brought up more and more and more and more and more. Then expanded to the point where it's just like it got, way a lot. It became its own entity basically. But because of that and the success, other games had to go in the route of the Battle Royale, where we got Apex Legend or Call of Duty having its Warzone.
Didn't Overwatch try to do a battle royale of sorts?
I don't believe so.
Because I stopped following that a little bit after the craze of the first game. I mean, I played a little bit of it. I wasn't very good at it.
Overwatch followed the foundation of Team Fortress.
Probably
And
that.
I know that's what it did. Overwatch followed the foundation of Team Fortress, which, funny enough, Exo Primal followed that foundation of Team Fortress, or Overwatch, so to speak. So you could say that Exo Primal is part of that family tree a little bit.
Yeah, and then actually one thing about the Hunger Games trailer, they had that famous whistle, but it was musical at
Yep.
the end, Thank God there was no one in the theater that whistled that. Because I am so sick of these younger people doing that,
Oh, that. Oh, I can't whistle it, but that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like the mocking... The
Mockingjay.
Mockingjay, yeah. Every time there was an ad for the Hunger Games or any reference to it, I always heard a teenager or a young person in the theater imitating it, and I'm like, I get it, you're a fan.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like they tried to make it a thing, but good thing the craze died off. I don't know, just little thing that bothered me.
Maybe the craze died off, but the Battle Royale aspect didn't.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you said, that's continued.
Yep.
But I think for that Hunger Games film, I'm probably just going to leave that to the fans, because clearly it's something for them, but the YA craze at this point is pretty much not where it once was.
Yeah.
And I would say the only franchise, it kind of gets labeled as YA, the one that I still come back to is Harry Potter. That's the one I still come back to, because even though it's classified as YA, I don't really see it that way. I just see it as one of the big things in the fantasy genre.
Yeah.
That it's not specifically made for the young adults. There's anyone of any age can watch it.
Yeah.
Although the kids are probably going to be terrified of the really spooky imagery in some of those films.
For Harry Potter?
Yeah, I remember at the end of the first one when Voldemort's spirit comes out of the body and rushes towards Harry and then flies away.
Yep.
That scared me as a child when I saw it in the theater at a young age.
What about Harry Potter 2, where you had to visit?
Hold on. That scene scared me so much that anytime I saw the film on VHS, I literally would hide away from that scene. That's how scary it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I can handle it now, but young me just could not handle stuff like that. That's some pretty scary stuff, man.
Yeah.
But what were you going to say?
I was going to say, what about the spider, that big giant spider in Harry Potter 2?
That didn't terrify me too much. That looked more cool than terrifying.
I don't know. I think some people may have, gotten that,
Arachnophobia?
Yep. Like Ron Weasley.
Yeah, if you've got arachnophobia, you could find that terrifying.
Yeah.
For me, it just looked cool along with the basilisk.
Yeah.
And I guess really as I got older, the films weren't really all that scary to me. But I do remember when Deathly Hallows Part 1 came out, there was one scene, my sibling and her friends saw it, where a ghostly image of Dumbledore shows up in the hall and there's like, ah! They were terrified of that scene.
Oh, yeah.
They were so terrified, they literally screamed in the theater, I think.
Oh, God.
But I wasn't there to see that. They told me that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this series does have some spooky stuff.
Yep.
And then the last trailer was kind of a Martin Scorsese kind of film. It was like Flowers of something. It was like a historical film where you see like the oil industry booming.
Oh, that Apple movie, which is like kind of interesting that that an Apple original will have its own trailer in the cinematic.
Maybe they're planning a simultaneous release, or just they needed to promote it somehow.
Probably, but yes, like you're saying, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. I think he was in the film.
Robert De Niro was in there.
Robert De Niro, yep, and
because they're Martin Scorsese regulars.
Yep, and it was like you said, oil industry was. Well, they discover oil, but it's on native soil.
And so there's tensions between them and the indigenous population.
Yeah, between corporations and the indigenous, the Native Americans. So that's kind of like its settings, basically. Well, I think Leonardo DiCaprio's character is married into the Native American.
Yeah, he marries one of them, and of course he's going to have to figure out how to navigate between the corporations and the life he got himself into.
Yep.
So from what I can tell, it's a Martin Scorsese picture. It'll get acclaim. It'll probably get awards and stuff, which is very typical for the guy.
Which I'm wondering if it's going to have elements of Django.
The Django Unchained?
Yeah.
Probably not. Tarantino and Scorsese are two completely different people with their own styles.
I guess so, but it has like a similar feel. Not like Bounty Hunter, like the Django did. But kind of like, well, you have corporations of the sorts against other people, basically.
I never really saw the Django Unchained, but if you're making that comparison, I could probably see that. I would just have to see the film itself.
Yeah, I did see the film. And Leonardo was actually in the film, too.
Oh, yeah, because, he's pretty popular and all the big-time filmmakers want to work with him.
Yeah.
So there's that.
And there was the meme in there that, when the meme was in there of the Leonardo turning around and going, "You will?"
Wait, what's that meme again?
It's a meme where Leonardo was looking back one way and then he turns around kind of like, oh. But he literally does quote, "You will?"
Oh, wait, isn't that meme where it's like that image of him from The Great Gatsby and he's holding up the cup?
Nope, that was with the fireworks in the background. That's different. That's kind of like a celebratory, or kind of like, all right. There's like another one with him with the top hat, mustache looking, and he kind of like, it's like "You will."
I guess maybe that one slips my memory of sorts. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the trailers we got.
Yep.
If we had to wrap up our talk on the creator, and I know we kind of changed subjects throughout this entire video, but we tend to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
I think to close off the creator, I will say that I thought this was pretty good for what it was. It's the kind of sci-fi film where I didn't get everything the first time, but if I go again, I might like it even more. Because usually the best sci-fi films are the ones where you see it once, there's a good impression, you see it again, there's something you'll get more of, and you might learn to eventually appreciate it. Which is actually something that I think... I wouldn't say it applies to Rogue One, but with Godzilla, I was initially disappointed with that because I was expecting full-on monster action spectacle. Over time, I eventually did learn to appreciate for what it was trying to do.
The slow pace and stuff like that.
Yeah, reintroducing Godzilla to a new generation.
Yeah.
And what Gareth Edwards was trying to do with his direction.
Yeah.
Because, I would say Gareth Edwards is a really good director when it comes to sci-fi.
Yeah.
He has a really slow style, but it's enough where you want to get invested and you want to know more of what's going down. And he kind of, I wouldn't say he applied the slow pace to Rogue One, but he directed Rogue One in a way where its grittiness worked within the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see him translate that into the creator, so to speak. And I would say, visually, this is an amazing movie.
Yeah, it's still a really good film.
It's well acted. There's a lot of really interesting world building, and I would say because a lot of reviewers said it takes the concept of AI and does something timely and relevant with it. I mean, it kind of does.
Well, especially with how people are probably fearing AI's potential.
Yeah, like this movie doesn't go full on with the dark potential of AI,
Yeah.
but it shows like more of a potential future of what could be
Yeah.
if we were to keep going down this route.
Yeah.
Now, will we reach this by the 2060s? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. 2060s, 2070, which is taken around that timeline.
Well, you can hope we start colonizing Mars by that point.
Yeah.
Or at least set up a base on the moon, but I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen.
Who knows? You can ask Elon Musk.
I don't trust him that much. Because Mr. Musk has said some really ridiculous stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he said he wanted to nuke Mars to terraform it, and I'm like, you fool. I mentioned that in the Oppenheimer video we did, where I'm like, you fool. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
No, you don't want to make it uninhabitable. You just gotta... Did you not see The Martian? Did you not see we could potentially plant potatoes in the ground? I don't know if that's possible, but you get where I'm going at here. It's like, there's better ways to do this than nuking a world. Oh my gosh. And one thing too, if humans do colonize the universe at some point or another, like set up shop on planets that don't have life, but have the potential for someone from another planet to live on, you know? Because right now they found water on Mars, but nothing like complex like we've got on Earth, you know? So it's like, don't set up camp on another world that's already got life or an alien race on it. Just set up on something that might have potential. And if you're gonna go out into the universe, set up mining colonies on large rocks, you know? Like, you could mine an asteroid for resources if they found a way.
Yeah. If they found a way, yeah.
But you never know.
You never know, indeed. I think that's about it, though.
I think, what else can I say about the creator before I really close this off? I thought, it had really good cinematography, like many of Gareth Edwards' other films.
Yeah.
I would say its world building was intriguing enough that I'd wanted to know more about this world, which was actually the same thing he did with his first film, Monsters. Monsters had some really interesting world building behind it, and you got those details, and you got to see how people interact with the alien monsters in that film. And the alien monsters weren't really evil, they were just from another world, and they were trying to contain them, even though really they're animals. So it's nice that Gareth Edwards, he takes these sci-fi settings, he does these really interesting world building around it, and it can get you invested where you want to know more. You probably won't get the details the first time around, but subsequent viewings you will get it. And I know that comes off as a bit repetitious, but it's the truth. So I would say we got at least a good time out of this.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And I think really, like, if I had to make any complaints, but I don't have a whole lot of complaints. I think really it's like I had a hard time remembering people's names outside of the kid and Joshua.
Yep.
Like I caught their names, I didn't quite catch other people's names.
Yeah, like
and I mean every character, they had their place in the story. I just would have liked maybe something more beyond their basic traits, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Because there's nothing wrong with characters having basic traits. It can work. You just kind of need a little more layers to characters sometimes.
Yeah.
And I mean, the one thing I will warn people is that because this is a slower kind of film, that might not be your kind of movie.
Yep.
But much of the best sci-fi films have always had kind of a slow pace to them, where they take their time to establish things and to tell their story. And for the most part, it works because that's Gareth Edwards' style. And I would just, tell people, if you go see this, just go in there knowing you will get some action and spectacle, but this is a very slower kind of movie. Is there anything else you want to add on to that?
I don't think there's much else to add.
Yeah, but I mean, it's nice that we got to see this, because the trailers were impressive enough that I got what I wanted out of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'd put this on a year-end list.
Yeah.
Like, I thought this was pretty good, pretty solid. I don't think it's the greatest thing ever made. It's not up there with, like, some of the other sci-fi greats, but it does serve its job in delivering a nice sci-fi tale that is not, overly bombastic with its action.
Yeah.
Like, it's always nice to get a sci-fi film that's, like, not constant nonstop action and very light on everything else, you know?
Yeah.
It's always nice when you get something with details, and that's what this film sets out to do.
Yeah.
But if it gets a cult following, which it very well could, and I'm pretty sure it'll happen, I could definitely be one of those people that wants to talk about it with others.
Yeah, we'll see if it happens though.
Yeah, so I just want to apologize, everyone, if I didn't get all the details and you had to help me out a bit.
Yeah.
But this is one of those movies where I need to see it again to really, really get all the details. And I just like it when sci-fi or other types of things do that, you know?
Yep.
It makes me want to know a little more, like pick apart a little few more details. So it's always nice to get something like that.
Yep.
Now, I will give out the closing statement that for the next month, October is going to be kind of a dry season. Like, there's really not a whole lot coming out.
Not a whole lot, really.
I mean, if Kraven the Hunter had kept its original release, we could have gone to that, but that got pushed all the way to next year, and I don't even know why.
Probably just because they weren't too sure about probably by the strike, if it was going to ending anytime soon. It's probably just a precaution, my guess.
I mean, yeah, you got the strike, but it's like Kraven the Hunter is a smaller scale comic book movie. Like, I don't think it needs the most complex stuff in there.
Who knows? And then November, I don't.
Well, actually, there's the Five Nights at Freddy's film on the way.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Five Nights at Freddy.
Which I never played any of the games, so I would go in with like no idea of what's gonna go down.
I remember watching a lot of like gaming videos from Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and a few others. Played the game. I think I might have maybe on like an iPad for like a brief bit, maybe on somebody else's device, playing it a little bit, but not to the extent of playing like, repetitiously a lot. Maybe like a few times and that was about it. But I did see a lot of the gameplay. I did see Five Nights at Freddy 2, then 3, and then 4. I'm not too sure about 5.
There's that many.
I'm not too sure where it ended off. I thought it ended off at 4, but I don't know. I remember it being Five Nights at Freddy 1, which was at that pizza, at that kind of like Chuck E. Cheese-like thing.
It's kind of like the slasher films with all those sequels. They kept making them over and over again.
Yeah. Then there was Five Nights at Freddy 2, which I think was like another location, similar to like a Chuck E. Cheese. 3 was somewhere in like some like, it was like a different place. 4 took place at a house.
Makes sense. Gotta have scariness happen in a house every now and then. Yeah, actually, for the November release, there's The Marvels, which is going to have a runtime of 1 hour and 45 minutes from what I've heard.
All right.
Shortest one yet. I'm a bit cautious about it, though, because I was not a huge fan of Captain Marvel.
Yep.
And then Ms. Marvel, I just remember being a really frustrating watch when I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess that's our next one.
Potentially the next one, yep. Otherwise, unless you're just like wanting to back out at the last moment.
I'm not backing out of the next MCU. I will go to an MCU film, even if there's something that might hold it back,
Alright.
But I kind of want to see the Marvels with you, just so I can tell you how the Captain Marvel character could have been handled better and how I personally would have approached these if I was making them.
Alright.
Which could make an interesting video, because I do have some interesting ideas.
Alright.
But I guess that'll be our next one. And then, well, Doom Part 2 got delayed, so we got to wait for that. And then December, of course, is Aquaman, and then Rebel Moon. We got to figure that one out.
Yeah, because that is a Netflix.
But I heard they were going to do simultaneous release with that one.
Yeah, so we'll see about Rebel Moon in terms of that one. Because I think I was the one that told you about that one. Right?
I discovered it, and then you told me it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But anyway, I would say go check out The Creator. It's actually kind of an interesting sci-fi film, but it may not be for everyone, so just make of it what you can.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
We'll see you next time.
See you.